3. The chairman recognizes we have a quorum. Let's call the meeting of the November 17th the Airport Authority meeting to order. There's a quorum. First order of business is approval of the October 21st meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the October 21st meeting.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next order of business is kind of a summary of the operations at the airport. Chip, you want to do that?
I think, let me see, my last communication from Kyle is Windsock is up and running. He wants to do a detailed inspection of the lights. We landed at night the other night, it was good. I noticed, which we hadn't, that the distance remaining sign, 3,000-foot sign, is over on its side. I think as a result of the hurricane. So Kyle is going to order the mounting brackets for that when he makes his next light order.
Okay. And Kyle did do something on our very expensive new windsock. The lights were out on that, and Kyle went to Lowe's and got new lights and strung it up. They were going to charge us $1,200 to repair it, and he repaired it basically for free. So that's a good thing. So the windsock's up, and the lighted windsock is up. All right, update on the construction of T hangers on the east side. Don, you want to talk about that?
Well, that's a interesting project. We've got 20 hangars that we've approved that we would build, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where are we on the financing on that if we wanted to?
Amy, in your packages, Amy worked just over the last couple of weeks to kind of redo the numbers. Last time we looked at it, we had a different construction cost and a different rent rate and a different, different occupancy. So, Amy, why don't you talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so what's in your packet would be with the updated construction cost and $450 a month on the rent, which is up for discussion, what we think we could get, and at a 3% interest rate. So I have my computer here. I can run any combination of the numbers that we want to see. So with the 450, 3%, it would be at 100% occupancy, we would net $10,000 in revenue.
That's $10,000 in excess cash flow.
A year.
A year.
A year.
And Amy, how many years until it's paid off?
This is for 20 on
Right.
here.
Well, I'm biased because I'm a flyer, but I'm of the opinion, and a lot of people share this opinion, that if you build it, they will come. We will fill those hangars, and we are not. There's some kind of I don't know, there's a little bit of a shaming out there in the aviation world to try to keep municipalities, to force municipalities such as us or the authority, whatever, to keep their rental rates low. Talking to Jack last week, I mean, just to keep a boat on a open air slip is much higher than what we would be charging for an enclosed hangar. So, I mean, the 450 is even up for debate. I mean, we are not obligated to keep this at a break-even level or worse than a break-even.
The only reason I brought this back to the board, we approved it in October. I just wanted everybody to get a reality check of where the cash flows. I'm still supportive of the project. I haven't sent out a package to banks or anything yet, but I think banks would be supportive of it too. I think we can find financing, and maybe we can get some help from the city too.
Yeah.
May I address that, Mr. Chairman? So, thank you for your comments. Don, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I've mentioned this to a couple of members already, is that I think that I would like a target price of $500 a month, just to be honest with you. I think that we could get it all day long. I think people would pay it. I think I use myself as an example. I pay $600 a month to keep a boat in an open air space on a rack. I mean, it's exposed to the sun and the rain, and there's no doors and there's nothing around it. And my boat is nowhere near the value of what someone's airplane and an investment in their airplane is. So I think that that's a good target price to look at. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that these numbers are based on interest rate of 3%, which is a good interest rate to base this analysis on. But I want to explore what options the city I want to explore options of partnering with the city and trying to get maybe the city to sign on to the loan, because we just borrowed $5 million at 0.78%. 0.78%. Now, that was a short-term loan, but it might be that we borrow the money for a short time, pay back as much as we can, and then even if the rates are 4% in 2 or 3 years, we've knocked down so much principal that it won't matter. We'll be ahead of the game. So just some options to explore. So
But
if
from
we
an-
could get money cheaper and work on that, are these numbers, you know, at $500 a month, that number becomes $22,000, and if the rate goes down to 1% or 2%, it goes up another what, Joe? Another
$30,000.
$30,000 a year.
So it goes to $60,000,
40.
$50,000 in cash flow.
40.
What, Amy? Amy's
40,
got-
yeah, 40
Okay.
it would be.
And if we get our $250,000 grant, 2 years down the road?
I don't think so. I think that once that, I think once we start the project, we can't get money retroactively for this project.
Okay.
Not from the state.
What? Not from the
Yeah,
state.
the 250, you have to do ahead of time.
Ahead of time.
But
Okay.
there is a portion that's FAA reimbursable tax relief.
We'll still get, we have that in the access roads.
Yeah.
Have we beat the bushes for CARES Act money? Right now, the state has $1 billion, $1 billion left unspent. I don't know how we tied into COVID, but people that are smarter than me can make that happen.
Yeah. That's a good segue into our next topic, update on Hurricane Sally. That's where we need money. Status of the hurricane repairs, the things that have been done is we've completed the FBO. The FBO repairs have been done, the actual office itself, the doors have been rehung, and the skylights have been done. We've gotten approval from our adjuster to do the public safety hangar at $202,000 with the contingency for the roof. And we've gotten approval from the adjuster to do the fuel farm with a $5,000 a month remediation to put that tent over there, which is amazing. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. We do not have approval yet to do the north hangar repairs. So anyway, that's kind of where we are on that. So any questions? I think there's a summary of everything in your package about where we are.
What'd you say about the $5,000 a month?
The 5,000, with the FBO, to repair the FBO was $5,000. That's the.
I thought you said $5,000 a month to put the canopy over the,
Oh, that canopy that they've got over there, the tinning
oh,
company.
the one that's there
The
now,
one there is
temporary.
$5,000 a month, which is,
I
and I
got you.
think they'll pay that as far as remediation. I mean, I was told that was remediation.
Okay, I
So
understand.
the insurance should pay that.
Yeah, so that would be part of our insurance.
That'll get
money.
reimbursed.
Yeah, yeah. So, so what I'd like to do is make a motion that you authorize the chairman to enter into contracts to get these repairs done. Resolution authorizes repairs to fuel facility, FBO building, North Hangar, and public safety hangar. And North Hangar is a little premature because we don't have the adjuster's approval. And he may balk on that because there's a pretty big number to get that whole big hangar roof repaired. I mean, they've had a lot of engineering work to kind of say that they may not do that. But we'll, they'll get it fixed. It may not get done exactly what Continental wanted.
So you need a motion for the public safety hangar and the fuel facility?
I think we need a motion
About
to,
the north thing.
to allow the chairman to enter, to sign contracts to do the fuel facility, the FBO building, and the public safety hangar, and then we'll hold off on the north hangar till we get the adjuster approved.
So items 2, 3, 4, and 5 on
Yes,
this
sir.
list?
Yes, sir.
I so move.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of of allowing the chairman to authorize those repairs, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the only thing you're not authorizing me to do is to do anything with the north hangar. And we'll bring that back when we get the insurance adjusters, approval, okay? All right, thank you.
Is that something you think might happen soon?
Vince, they've sent an engineer, I don't know, they sent an engineer down from Atlanta to actually got it, we had to get a lift truck for them to actually get on there. I have not, until I get I would think it'd be another 2 weeks. I don't think we're holding, kind of where we are on that, they've done the remediation, they've done all the wall replacement. They just haven't finished the roof, and unless it rains, the roof is better than it's ever been. But they just haven't finished it. They haven't pulled the insulation out and replaced all that. So until they do that, until they get a go-ahead, they're not going to do it.
The reason I'm asking, do we need a motion for this one item separate? So if it comes up in 2 weeks before we meet,
I would appreciate that.
and it's this dollar amount, that we could go forward?
I would appreciate that. It would give me some flexibility to work with this. This guy's done, he's got about $85,000 in it so far in remediation and repairs, and he hadn't been paid anything. And he would like to get paid. So, or the prospect of getting paid. So, yeah, if you could do a motion for that, that would be appreciated.
All right, so I make a motion that subject to the insurance company agreeing to $314,940.39, that the chairman be authorized to execute a contract for this work if and when it gets approved by the insurance company
And this is for the north hangar.
for the north hangar.
We have a motion, do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, all right. Attorney's report.
Under Subpart A, it is an update on negotiations with Diamond Air LLC and insurance considerations for truck-to-truck refueling operations. This is probably due to my mistake, but I was under the impression that Diamond Air would need to use a fuel truck to purchase fuel from Continental, and apparently the authority has in the past allowed truck-to-truck refueling operations on the west side of the airport with Mid-Bay Air and I forget the name of Mr. Bones. Cedar Creek. And so because there is precedent for that, we obviously would allow Diamond Air to use the same type of truck-to-truck refueling operations. Along with that, however, I just wanted to bring before the board any insurance considerations in terms of whether we should add additional insurance requirements in light of the truck-to-truck refueling operations. I say that because it appears that it's going to be probably a couple of years before fuel farm infrastructure is ready, such that they could deliver fuel to the fuel farm. And so, in that intervening time, I did not know if there are any additional insurance considerations we should implement. Right now, we have commercial general liability, business auto, environmental impairment, but only for the fuel farm facility, and an umbrella liability insurance coverage. So I'm opening it up to the board to let me know if there are any additional insurance requirements we should impose in light of the truck-to-truck refueling operations that Diamond Air would use until the fuel farm infrastructure is finished on the east side.
I've talked to my insurance carrier and my fuel supplier, and I got one said one thing, one said the other, which surprised me. The insurance carrier said probably need environmental liability when you get to a tank, and the fuel supplier said just the opposite. So I would say it's 50-50 down the middle, and I talked to both of them again today just to get a good feel for it. So after talking to them, I'm of the opinion once they get a fuel farm, we'll need an environmental policy, because you are storing at least 8,000 gallons, or could be, or 12,000 gallons. Also, if you get a truck, you can get a truck that hauls 5,000 gallons. I don't know what Diamond's intentions are, but if you're getting a 1,200 gallon truck, something like that, that's not considered a major oil spill if you had a leak out of there.
And they will be required to have environmental liability once the fuel farm is in place. I just didn't know if in the interim time we needed any additional coverages to make sure the authority is protected in the event of some kind of accident with the fuel truck based on the truck-to-truck refueling.
Vince, what about that? You know, we spent some money to put that special asphalt. Would that be a good place to ask them to refuel there? Would that add any value, or would that be something?
A spill's a spill, but if you want to not damage some asphalt, it'd be a good idea until we get an
The fuel-
FPO operation there, or we get a fuel farm, one of the two, then they'd have to.
Just say,
go.
this would be our preferred place for you to refuel the truck.
But then you got to get the fuel truck supplier driving all the way around. But yeah, it's not a bad idea if you want to protect the asphalt.
Sorry, guys. Got to kill this
All
thing.
right, so what's our pleasure?
Either we can go as is, or, so it sounds like there's no additional insurance requirement that would be needed.
That was kind of the opinion I got after going, I talked to you, and then I went back to both of them again and said, let me throw out some blank scenarios.
Okay. So in light of that, I think we're ready to go with the existing lease. I just didn't want to have something signed without bringing that issue back in front of the board.
Okay, so your negotiations with the attorney, you'll go forward, is that right?
Yes.
And we're good with environmental insurance when we get to a fuel farm.
Correct. That's covered in the lease and the fuel farm addendum. So once they have the fuel farm, once the authority has the infrastructure in place and they add the fuel farm tanks, they will be required to have environmental coverage at that point in time.
Okay.
Subpart B, review and approval of amendment to Fairhope Hangar Partners lease. This is a carryover from the last meeting. There was a motion, and then there was some additional discussion following the motion. And I went back and watched the video of that particular portion of the meeting a couple of times. And honestly, I just had difficulty determining what the intention of the board was relative to that. And so I did ask Joe to return this to the agenda just so I could have some clarification. There are two proposals, and I think they're competing in that I don't think they can coexist with one another. The first proposal was that the authority would pay for and have the utility infrastructure installed, and that the operator would pay a 40 cents per square foot of leased area annual fee that would reimburse the authority over time for that infrastructure. The second proposal was that the operator would pay for and install, or pay the authority to install, the utility infrastructure, and the operator would then get an abatement of their rent based on the overall cost of the utilities. In other words, just to use hypothetical and round numbers, if the operator paid for the installation of the utility infrastructure and the cost was $60,000, their rent would abate based on their annual rate until they had reached that $60,000 amount. So they would not pay rent up until that point in time. Those were the two things that were discussed. I could not determine, good, Mr. Chairman.
No, I think you summarized it well. I do think that in both cases, we reduce the acreage under lease whole by, to the number that they've agreed for the 4 hangars, and that we, the authority, will permit, contract, and build the utilities, and will own those utilities under both agreements. That's the way I would like to see it done.
Yes, under either scenario, the authority would own the infrastructure improvements. It just is whether the authority will recoup that amount over time via the infrastructure fee, or whether the rent will abate based on what the operator has referred to as payment of advance rent.
Okay, so I think we all understand. This has been a bone of contention, or pretty for the last really 3 months. So I'd like to put this to bed tonight. So what I'd like to do is get every board member an opportunity to kind of speak to it and kind of give you your thoughts, and then we'll have a vote, yea or nay, and we'll go forward. Don, you want to start?
Well, I'm in favor of since the infrastructure of the airport is ours, I'm in agreement with you, Joe, that we should pay the money, as the authority should pay the money for the infrastructure. That's the road, the electricity installation, and the hydrant line primarily, and then recapture that money in the way you just laid out.
The 40 cents a square foot.
Well, through the abatement of the rent.
Okay, all right. That's Will?
I don't see us recouping in the second.
I don't
example.
either.
I think the differences are the cost to the authority. example A, with the 40 cents a foot lease, we do recoup the cost.
That's true, real money.
With the other one, we don't, and it costs us that money. And this, again, not to beat a dead horse, was presented to the authority as a no-cost development to the authority. So I would be in favor of the first example, 40 cents.
Okay.
I'm saying, I mean, I think the 40-cent assessment would be a better way to go.
Amy?
I agree, that's what's reflected in the budget that we approved as well. And I think where the confusion came in is if a second tenant came in over there.
How do we recapture or spread that cost out? And that's
Right.
that's in the lease, and the first way, you don't have a way to do it. I mean, in the ground lease, you don't have a way to do it, so that's, yes.
Yeah, I think we could handle it either way.
Okay.
I mean, either if they've already paid it, then we could abate the rent until the second tenant, whatever the second tenant basically credits the first tenant's lease until it's equitable, whatever we decide based on square feet or whatever.
And I was not able to think of a great way to do that, but the way that I drafted it is that the current operator would receive a downward adjustment if and when subsequent operators lease space on that side. So it would not be 40 cents a square foot necessarily over the whole term or until the infrastructure was recouped. We would, I don't want to say prorate because I'm not sure that's the exact right word, but we would reduce that 40 cents and pass a portion of that on to future operators who lease space on that side.
Vince?
Well, I think I agree with the second approach on the 40 cents per square foot. I always love a good wrinkle. I'm going to recommend somewhere in this when we decide we're going to vote on one that we kept that at $53,500 because that's what we agreed to spend originally. And I don't see, since we actually, I believe, have a signed lease where we spend $0, agreeing to spend up to $53,500 should, there's been numerous emails making very incorrect statements about what we're not willing to do, even though we're going above and beyond what we signed a lease to do. So I think the 40 cents a square foot is the best option, but I'm going to recommend it be kept at $53,500, which is what we originally said we would spend after we agreed to spend $0.
Jack?
I'm trying to fully understand the difference in the options. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little confused because I'm a little late to the party. But, so Don, if you could explain briefly what you were saying about the infrastructure and us paying for the infrastructure.
Well, actually, it'd be funded by the, I probably didn't say that as well as I could have, because I'm a little confused too, by the way. No, the Fairhope Hanger Partners were going to front the money to us. There was a liability issue of them doing it because if they built something on our land and something went south on the project, they would be liable for that fault, if you will. So they said they would be willing to fund the improvements and reimburse us, in essence, for the improvements. Now, whether it's up to $53,500, that's another wrinkle. That's another story. But I mean, I could actually call Bill Henry to the podium if that would be something Bill wants to do, because he's their member representative here today.
Bill?
Thank you. I'm the only one here tonight because one member is having his knee replaced, and the other two people are afflicted by jobs, so they can't be here. I appreciate everyone's effort. I think everyone's ready to have all this done. As everyone knows, we're turning dirt down there. We can really go either way. I was under the impression because of the hurricane that there was some funds crunch currently, and so we're just trying to make things easier for everybody by putting the money up front and then having the rent waived. I see your point that at the end of the day, the money comes out of your pocket. I have a feeling that, and I don't speak for everybody right now, I'll have to go tell them, but I have a feeling that If we did it the other way, where you guys come up with the money, you sign the contract, and then you give us an extra assessment to ultimately pay for that,
Yeah.
then we ultimately pay for that over time. And I think we're ready to just move forward.
Okay. Jack, does that help answer your questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Hi, so I guess the question, I'll call for the question. Question is, do we want to, in both cases, we're going to own and pay for the infrastructure, okay? We're getting to Vince's capping it at 53.5 after this, but all those in favor of the surcharge for 40 cents a square foot to pay for the infrastructure, signify by saying aye.
We need a motion.
Okay, we need a motion.
But no, let's restate what the second option would be to where it's not us paying.
Okay. But we're not, in either case, we're not going to pay for the second option is that their ground lease, which is $3,500 a year, would over time reimburse us for the construction.
I'm not following.
It's going to be an extra 40 cents over time.
With option one.
Yeah, option one. Option two is there's no 40 cents.
Option two.
Yeah.
Right,
One's got 40 cents in it and one doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it.
Right, I mean, yeah, whichever order you put it,
Hey,
there's,
Can I say one thing?
yes.
I was confused too, so I called Josh, and I'm still confused, so.
I didn't do a very good job explaining it.
Well, no, you did, but I'm still confused.
But no, the first option is, the first option is that they pay 40 cents per square foot infrastructure charge. The second option is the advanced rent, what I call the advanced rent option.
Okay. So let's make a motion on the,
Okay,
But we-
one more question.
no,
So the advanced rent option, how does that,
Under the advanced rent option, and I want to try and make sure I explain it correctly to the best of my understanding, but under the advanced rent option, the operator would pay the authority in full for the value of the utility infrastructure, and then the operator would pay no rent until that amount was recouped by the operator.
does that, and but
so
we still-
then that's us paying it effectively?
Correct.
If they just paid it up front and there was no rent abatement, that would be them paying it?
That's correct.
And how long would it take to fulfill their obligation under option two, Josh?
It depends on the actual amount of the infrastructure, which has been estimated between, to use a ballpark number,
Based on
between,
53.5 or whatever.
based on 53.5, it would take about 17 years.
So they would have rent-free for 17 years.
But under that option, to go against what we've been accused of, we would be giving them $53,500 and honoring what we
Well,
came
we
back
rescinded.
and volunteered to do after the fact.
And what utilities are we talking about? Let's get that pinned down.
Talking about fire protection and water, portable water, and electricity. And we have an estimate of $50,000 for the fire protection and water. And utilities should, and electrical is about 14 to 15,000. We might be able to do a little bit better on the electrical.
Okay, let me make the motion then. I move that we install the infrastructure as proposed, water, fire, and electricity on the southwest development of the airport. To be reimbursed up to a cap of $53,500 at an additional 40 cents a square foot surcharge, utility surcharge, until the full amount, whatever that might be, capped at $53,500 is.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in,
Can we,
Further
I have
discussion.
one more question.
okay, please.
What if it costs more than $53,000? Who pays the difference?
We eat that, don't we?
And that's, I was fixing to ask that question, because my thinking is, if we abate their rent, we abate their rent up to $53,500, but they pay that $53,500 up front. And then we abate their rent up to $53,000. I don't think that's what your motion was, but that's just my thinking. That if they paid that up front, and then we abated their rent up to that amount, and then whatever the cost above that was, we would not abate their rent, and they would be paying that portion.
So yours is so yours still has the 40 cents a square foot portion, but the 53.5 is being paid for by their existing ground lease.
Of which they would pay up front, and we would waive rent across the board. And see, at that point, we can waive base rent plus the 40 cent square foot rent, get that money back to them quicker, and then they start paying rent quicker, which would get the balance of that money back in our pocket.
Can you?
Does that make sense?
No. No, it doesn't.
That's why I called Josh.
So, I don't understand that.
I mean, well, I had viewed it as an either or. And so either they pay the advanced rent option, and by paying it in advance, they then don't pay rent for 17 years or whatever it is because they've paid it in advance. Or B, they continue to pay rent but also pay a 40 cents per square foot infrastructure fee per year towards the cost of the utility infrastructure.
That's the motion.
That's the motion.
Yeah, to me, yeah, it's very, if I'm not mistaken, the rent abatement option, basically, we're paying for the infrastructure.
By-
With the other option, they're paying for the infrastructure, correct?
That's
Correct.
what I think.
And that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I would ask you, if you were gonna make that motion, so we're still in discussion here, to say that the 40 cents is paid up to the amount of the utility cost.
I thought I included that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said 53.5, and if that motion
I
passed, it
said
would
up
be,
to whatever it costs, yeah, at a max of 55. But you're saying if it's over that, is that true?
right. Yeah, if it's 60, then,
Okay, let's include that in the motion, then, up to the amount spent to install said utilities. Is that agreeable?
yeah. You amend, you have to second it, or somebody
Have a
else.
second.
second.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of Will's motion, which I'm not going to try to, but I do it, we'll call it the 40 cents option, okay? All those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so, all right, so there's no reason to talk about the other, since this one's passed unanimously, okay?
Good.
Everybody good? We'll write it up that way and we'll move forward. And thank you for your patience. Okay, Continental Aerospace, they were out of town, and we'll talk about that. There's really nothing. He does owe me a lessons learned from Hurricane Sally, so we will, at some point in time, have a lessons learned addendum that we'll put into our disaster recovery policy. And I'm going to hold him to that. He's going to have to write something up. Okay? Engineers report. Jordan, you want to step up?
All right, I'm going to kick it off with some updates on the projects we got ongoing. The Southwest Apron seal coat is almost finished. The seal coat is complete, temporary markings are down. The stripers are scheduled to come back December 2nd, I believe, to finish up the permanent stripe. And then we'll have a final inspection with you guys and AlDOT and FAA, and that one will be wrapped up. The access road is pretty much complete as well. It is lacking, I think, some permanent seating and the construction, or not construction signs, the permanent roadway signs that we're going to put up. And then that one's in the same boat, schedule a final inspection and call it a day. I think the one y'all are all wanting to hear about is the ALP update. I was just looking at a draft this morning, marking it up, so we should have a draft ALP set for you guys to look at very soon, probably just after the new year, if I had to guess. And then the PCN study, I've talked to Joe a little bit about it, or me and Hank talked to Joe a little bit about it yesterday. We're still waiting to get.
And tell everybody what that is, strength testing.
Yes, is the strength testing. We're going to get basically the strength rating of the runway so that you can publish it on your 5010 or basically like AirNav, which I think most of you are all familiar with. And the first report we got, we didn't agree with the number they put out, and so we're still coordinating with the sub to make sure that what they've determined is correct. And we're very close to having that too, so probably by the next board meeting, we'll have you
So in
something to
December,
review.
we can have a discussion on strength testing,
Yes, sir.
which will be interesting. Okay?
That's
Anything
all I
else,
got.
Jordan?
That's it for me. Y'all have any questions?
Hey, Jordan, on that seal coat, what's up with the compass rose? Do we need to get that group back?
It's whenever, we've got, a temporary one there for you that meets FAA specs, so it works for what Nick and them need at Continental, and then whenever you guys want to schedule the 99s to come out and put the pretty one back,
Okay.
you're good to
Okay.
go.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Good to go.
thank you.
Thank you.
And Jordan, and just so y'all to know, Jordan is now our project manager, is that right? What's your official?
I'll probably be picking up a little bit more of the slack, just because Hank's taking on a bigger role, so you'll probably see me more often. We'll probably both be coming
Yeah,
for the
let's-
most part, but I'll definitely be here every time unless I can't.
Well, we appreciate what y'all do.
Yes, sir. If y'all need me, I think most people have my cell phone. If not, hit me up after the meeting.
All right, Amy?
Okay.
Well, we had a great month. No expensive.
Yeah, so this is the first month of the new, I guess this is our last page in the back. So this is the first month out of the new fiscal year budget, so revenue's right on track. Expenses, we haven't seen any of the costs from the hurricane repairs yet. So if you look at, I kind of just phased it with the orange bars, expecting to pay most of that between November and December. But we didn't really have much at all this month, expense-wise. So.
We'll start writing a few, I've got 3 checks I've been holding to mail till we got it approved tonight, so.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, all the hurricane repairs are budgeted under that general airport maintenance, so.
And all the grass cuts are through for the year. The years, October is just kind of a wind down month.
Yep.
We got the final farmer's rent today,
Oh, okay.
okay? All right, anything else? So we want to talk about the development of the west side commercial area. Walt? Identify yourself.
Hello, I'm Walt Bolton. My company is Bolton Engineering Services. Many of you know me. So I've got a couple of different things to discuss. I have a proposal here with me to just start the discussion. It is a real contract to purchase the 7 acres that's in front of the academy that's currently grass.
Okay.
I had Kiel Rubio, who's a realtor, do comps. And so again, it's just a starting point. It's for 7 acres that I identified from a map that we had. I don't know if that's exactly the amount. Joe said that you wanted to have some room to do another building. If that's the case,
The Aviation Academy.
it might not have 7 acres, but we might be able to do some horse trading, and I could design the spot for you where you're going to put the new building, and then we could carve out this. So I only have 1 copy. I didn't know who to bring it to, but essentially this proposal is based on comps that Kiel did for stuff sold in the last 12 months, and in the size range of 3 to 7 acres up to 300 acres in that general vicinity.
And just 2 things. One, we've never had anybody actually give us a proposal to buy that area in front of the Aviation Academy. I don't know why, but nobody's ever thought to do that. And secondly, Josh is of the opinion that we can sell it. We don't have to lease it because it's not bought with FAA grant funds. Is that?
It's not encumbered by the grant assurances, and it wasn't, the FAA hasn't given us any money to improve that part of the airport, so it's not encumbered by the grant assurances.
And I'm not recommending we sell it, it's just, I mean, I appreciate your being innovative, you know, saying as a.
Right. So if we were able to work out a deal, what I would want to do is put my corporate offices, I currently have 2 buildings, one's downtown and one's on Middle Street. I would sell that building on Middle Street and move all my operations. I have multiple operations. I have site work, tracks with dump trucks, architecture, engineering, general contracting. But we would move out there, and then we would have a signature building on that spot that would be the entrance to the airport, all the above. But anyway, it's just a starting place. It's an offer of $99,000 based on what Kiel came up with. The second thing that I wanted to talk to the committee about is Joe and I have, and we got the ticks to prove it, we walked the acreage that's on the west side, and what I would like to do is become a private public developer for you. It wouldn't cost you any money. I already have 5 people interested in metal buildings that have a couple of acres that you can have a laydown yard, you can have a little bit of an office inside the metal building. We've done lots of those kinds of projects, and what I would like to do is be your developer. It costs you nothing. I would do the master plan for the whole 170 acres. I would work with my team to provide you a realtor, an engineer, a contractor, and then, of course, you want to sell the land. So I would also work with the county economic development. I think Joe says maybe they have maybe 500,000 or more to put a road in, right?
Well, there's been talk about, if we bring jobs to the table, there's some opportunities to build a road.
Okay. So we would work with the economic development, but it wouldn't cost the committee any money, and essentially you'd have an engineer and a general contractor on your team helping you to develop that land. And then, of course, I would like to do the engineering and the construction, but I wouldn't make that a prerequisite, of course, right? But if we can't reach an agreement on this property that's right there at the entrance, then I would like to be the first tenant on that commercial park and purchase the acreage along 32. So I would do, if we can't reach agreement there, then I would be the anchor tenant, if you would, on 32. I have a technology company that does technology and advertisement that's interested. I have a landscaper that's interested. I have an HVAC company that's interested, and I have a site contractor. So I think you could, do pretty well and get that developed. And you don't have to do the whole 170 acres. You don't have to do the whole road at the same time. So anyway, I did, Joe said bring an offer. I brought a real offer. It's got contingencies in it, but it's a real contract. So I did.
Yeah. Don, you've been kind of heading this up. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, would you be interested in taking down the acreage and developing it yourself, the 100 and something acres on that side?
Well, I mean, some people have some money in this room. I don't have kind of money. I don't mind being the developer, but I'm not loaded like that. I can't afford the whole 170 acres.
Josh, did you ever determine if we're obligated to sell property for what we bought it for?
I do not with certainty, no, but I have not found anything in the authority's records that requires the authority to sell on a per acre basis what we bought it for, or what the authority bought it for back in 2007.
Does anybody have any memory, because I was not on the board then by any means, but what, 33,000 an acre, what do we pay?
28,
28?
25, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's out of my price range.
I got you, okay.
Yeah, 25.
But I do think that if you develop it, we can, you gotta think lot size, right? So let's say that you're a landscaper and you can buy a couple of acres and after all the development and all that stuff, let's say that you're buying, under $100,000, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 acres, if you're buying $100,000 lot and you can build your building, then for about $250,000, you can have a nice building, a nice laydown yard, a nice lot, and you're in a commercial development, and then you can afford those payments. Especially with how cheap money is right now. I mean, I can't get it for less than 1%, but I've bought some stuff recently for like 3.25%. So when contractors and builders and small businessmen can do that, then your payments are really affordable. So I think the target area, if we were to enter this public-private venture, I think we're probably looking at total packages for people somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000, where they get a building, they get a laydown yard, they get delivery service, they get fenced in place. We do need to have some kind of architectural review. You want to have nice stuff, but on the same on the same coin, you do not want to limit it so that commercial people can't be commercial. And there's just no, Kiel's got my building on Middle Street up for sale right now. There's just literally no space that's zoned commercially that have metal buildings in the 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 square foot range available. It's just not in Fairhope.
Vince, is your commercial park in Daphne filled? Is there spaces there?
There's, I think, 3 lots in there. It's
But
pretty full.
there's really not any, owner occupied build-to-suit places really on the Eastern Shore right now, is there?
It's not a lot.
Yeah, I designed and built his neighbor, Dr. Canale's building. And it was 13,500 square feet. It's by the Terminex, and we did that probably maybe 10 years ago. But he's leased out. He's full. So the proposal I'm offering costs you nothing. We'll do the master plan. We'll work with you to come up with some pricing for the land, right? But it won't cost you anything, and anytime we won't have a real formal agreement. Anytime you want to do something different, you just say, "Hey, Walt, you're out," and we'll move on. I just think it's a good idea, and I think it's good for my business too, because I think I can go out and get 4 or 5 clients. And I'd like to be at the airport. We're starting our second design build of a hangar, and I think we can. I don't like traveling anymore. I don't think anybody does, but for a decade I went all over the world. I don't want to get on a plane again unless it's for fun. So I like working locally. It just makes sense for me and my business and my family.
Okay. We're not gonna make any, I just wanted to bring that up and.
Yeah, no worries.
Just,
If anybody has any questions, they can call me or email me, and I'll wait to hear on the proposal.
Well, your purpose for the 7 acres is your own opposite facility, is that right?
Right. I might do multiple buildings on that property, but it would be for me to work on or lease or develop for lease, yeah. But again, it would be architecture, engineering, general contracting, and site contracting.
Okay. Any other questions? Jack?
I appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. And we are starting, we do have a signed contract with the Fairhope Hangar Partners. Fairhope Partners. They're too close.
Zach.
Fairhope Partners LLC, so Zach McNeil. So we're finishing up our permitting with the city, and then we'll get started. The drawings are already completed. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other business?
Just as a note.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had
Bill
that.
and I
I have
are
that.
meeting with the Aviation Academy folks tomorrow.
Okay.
Mandy and Permoss, I believe, are going to be with us and let us us know how we might be able to help them promote the account.
Manny's a good egg, and I appreciate you reaching out and doing that. And update on the website?
Update on the website, had some correspondence with the lady we contracted with. She is pretty much at this point waiting on us for content and photos. And so I'm going, I need to go there on the development side to provide some verbiage on that. I'm going to really push that and hope to have a new website for you next month.
And George, some of the aerial photography that we purchased from as part of the master plan update, can we put some of that on our website?
Yes, sir. It's really just one big aerial
Yeah.
of the.
It'd be nice to have it though with buildings and whatever. I think it's good stuff.
I'll email to you.
Okay.
And Ben Montgomery has done some drone work and is going to do a
Yeah.
little bit more for
Yeah.
her, so hopefully we'll have a new website by next month.
I appreciate you. Do you want to say something? You want to introduce yourself?
Briefly, Mayor, I'm Lance Slater. I'm trying to get on with the advisory board here. I appreciate you letting me sit in and learn from it. I'm currently, professionally, I've been in aerospace the last 7 years and just moved into project management role with the city of Mobile. I'm trying to keep my feet in aerospace while I'm doing something else. So I look forward to doing what's doing. Thank you for letting me sit in.
We appreciate your coming. Josh, do we need to adjourn or do we want to go into executive session?
You have to have a vote.
We have to have we have to have a motion and a second and a vote to go into executive session for consideration of the discussion of consideration the authority would accept for the lease of real property.
Can we add to that, Josh, discussion of consideration for the lease or sale of real property?
Yes, we can. It all falls under the same code section.
Okay.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll make that motion.
All right, all those in favor of going into?
We need a second.
Okay. Now, do I have a motion that we go into, do I have a vote that we go into executive session? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, so I anticipate we'll be about 30 minutes in executive session. I don't think there'll be anything that'll come out that we'll need to vote on. And then we'll adjourn when we get back in here. Is that right? Thank you. Thank y'all. I'll call the meeting back into order, and
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
do I have a motion to adjourn? Jack has a motion, we have a second, and so the airport authority meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all.
Get there when you can.